Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the next episode of With Conviction, a story of hope, horror, and history. My name is Rain, my pronouns are she, her, and I will be your game master for this story. With me are my adventurous heroes. Why don't we go through some introductions?
Uh, my name's Alice. I'm apparently the one who goes first. I play Desdemona Hartwood, the goth magical girl who definitely doesn't care about anyone at all.
And I am Skyland. My pronouns are they and them. I play Chris Whitlock, who is the sporty magical girl, whose pronouns are she or any, and who is absolutely not a girl and also absolutely a queen.
Oh, I love that.
I keep forgetting my pronouns. Dang it. I was the one who was so gung ho about it. My pronouns are she and they, and so are Desdemona's.
We'll get it down soon, don't worry.
All right. Well, the last we left you, you had pulled off on the side of a country road after a suspiciously inky snake had crawled across your path and disappeared into the woods. So as the light sort of shimmers through the early autumn, late summer leaves, you can hear the crunching underfoot as you run through the woods. What are you doing?
I am. Des is taking off after Chris, who was the first one to get out of the car.
Yeah, I think Chris had probably gotten out of the car before the car had actually quite finished moving.
Classic.
Um, and is To outside observers, it looks like she's crashing through the forest after the snake. What's actually happening is that she's being very careful about where she places her feet. So, because she's quite familiar with wildlife and plants and such, and she's doing her best to not actually be a problem. I think Chris getting out of the car like that, getting out of the truck like that, probably counts as act without planning, which is one of her darkness triggers.
Yes. So you want to activate your shift trigger and take a point of darkness?
Yes, please. I will now be at 3 darkness.
Absolutely.
Pretty dark.
I don't know what this means. I have not played with this at all. Um, so we're gonna find out together.
That we certainly are.
Yeah. Don't. Uh. Hmm.
It's fine. Everything's fine. Her hair just got another shade darker, I'm sure.
It's hard to tell with the way the light is dappled in the woods.
But yeah, I think so. For Chris here, she is just trying to track this thing down. I think it's not quite crisis mode this time, but she recognized something that is similar to that gloopy gloopy hand and that long monster, and she decided she should do something about it.
Long, long monster.
That monster we all hate. It could populate the nightmares for a week.
Yeah. For reals.
Oh
With with
no.
the with the first monster, I have to actively not picture what it looked like. I have largely scrubbed it from my brain, so I don't want a refresher. Um, but I suspect I will get a bit of a refresher.
Well, I will attempt to live up to that standard.
I have enough nightmares. Thank you. But yeah, I think Dez is just barreling after Chris, not really thinking too hard about it, just trying to catch up to them.
Yeah, so I think, GM, if you will allow me, I would like to roll place to catch up with this thing, since Chris is being very
Um,
careful with her feet.
I think something related to searching would probably be more appropriate. If it was place to try and make your way through the underbrush unimpeded, yes. However, since you lost sight of this thing when it first went off the road and you're trying to find it and keep eyes on it, I think something related to searching is more appropriate.
Aw, okay. I will continue to request to use place everywhere possible.
That is entirely fair.
Because I have nothing that would be helpful with investigations.
So that would be a flat roll then.
Unfortunately. But flat roll we will go with. Well, that's an 11 on the dice.
All right then.
Ooh.
Yeah. As it's crossing an open patch that has some sun breaking through, the sheer darkness of its shape catches your eye as it slithers at an alarmingly quick pace down a hill and into a small valley of sorts. It's not hard to see the other side from where you're standing as the trees begin to rise, but it's heading downward.
Does it seem like. Well, no, that's player knowledge. Chris doesn't care. Chris is going to sprint ahead and get to the bottom of that valley and sort of turn around to try to face off with that thing. She'd like to get in front of it.
All right, that I think would be appropriate for place.
I am appreciative of that. Let's see what happens. Oh, no, that is 4 on the dice plus 2 is 6, which is not a whole lot better.
This thing's fast. You're trying to get ahead of it, but every time that you try to make that leap or set yourself up for it, it takes another turn, and as it starts to get to the bottom of the valley, it turns and starts heading, following the course of the brook further down. You can see some stones in a rocky outcropping a little further up or down the stream, and it seems to be heading in that direction.
Okay, so Chris has tried. Can I try to catch up to this thing or otherwise corner it?
Absolutely. What do you want to roll?
Nothing, Rain. I don't want to roll anything.
All right, flat roll it is then.
Can I pull out my toolbox to have me run faster with my handy DIY?
Let me think about no.
Yeah. Okay, hold on. But how about a 10 on the dice?
That'll do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
You see the direction that Chris is moving in, and following Chris's movement, you spot this creature, and you can see the direction it's going in, and you are able to, since you're behind, you sort of move diagonally to where you would have been moving, and you are able to get out in front of it. You're not too far from where the rocks are right now. It would be a couple of steps to leap up on top of them if you wanted to. Can you make me let's call it a perception check? Do you have anything to listen,
No, I
as much as
have
you are an appreciator of music?
I have -1 to research.
Is that like an investigate kind of roll?
It's very specifically listening to things. Investigates more if you have the time to search.
Okay.
Okay, then I don't think I have anything
All right,
to
make me a
help me
flat
out.
roll.
That is a 9.
Yeah, you almost miss it, but you hear something else moving.
Uh,
Something else is moving very quickly through these woods. You can hear the crunch of leaves.
okay.
I think at this
I
point, Chris stops. She's used to reading teammates. Well, she's not quite there with Des yet. Something in her makes her stop, and she goes, "What you got, Des?"
there's something else here.
Cool.
That's all I got.
Cool. Cool.
Do you think you could do that the thing you did last time we dealt with something like this?
Yes, absolutely. She says
Yeah.
very confidently. And her mind just goes blank. She doesn't know how to do this. So, is there some? You mentioned a brook in the woods, and
Uh-huh.
Virginia is very swampy, generally as a climate. Is
think
Are
that's
the are the
unfair.
are the banks muddy?
No, it appears to have eroded its way down into a nice little brook. So there are a couple of overhangs on either side. It's not that muddy.
Okay.
It also hasn't been raining recently.
Well, that sounds like it's your fault.
I do what I can.
Yeah, you mentioned a rocky outcropping.
Uh-huh.
I think what Chris does is she runs and jumps up onto that rocky outclimbing. She's aiming to climb about 15-20 feet and then jump off back onto the ground to see if that will trigger this fight reaction.
Given that the rocks are sticking out halfway into the hill, at their highest point, they're about 15 feet up, and you make that leap and roll transform.
Well, we'll see how this goes. That is a 6 on the dice.
All right, that is a failure. This is a pretty high thing to be jumping from, especially without much cushioning. But that thought is suddenly interrupted as the stones beneath your feet, more of these snakes begin to boil out of the cracks and stain everything in
Ugh,
darkness
I hate
as
it.
you suddenly find the will to leap. And as you arc through the air, this light begins to run across your arms and you begin to transform.
Yeah. She's kind of going for like a nice foot-based landing, and she instead like lands basically on her arms and does a sort of half forward roll and is kind of sprawled out face down on the ground at this point. But that transformation is taking over anyway, and this light seeps into the earth and pulls dirt up and around her body. And as that dirt crumbles away, she is once again in this frustratingly tan bodice and high slit skirt. But this time, well, she notices this time the blue and orange accents. It's actually like a shrug, kind of a bolero, like long sleeve bolero kind of thing. And those black leather boots, they're black, but they're not as dark as she thought they were last time she saw them. But she sits there groaning in a little bit of pain from dropping that far.
Des, the ground you are standing on is now seething with snakes. What are you doing?
Shrieking. Uh,
Yeah, uh-huh.
Rain asks the age-old question, would you still love the rocks if they were so many worms? I think seeing what Chris has done, I think Des is like, I don't even want to try it, honestly, but if it's to, protect someone, I'm gonna go for it. So she's gonna try to leap out of the way and transform as well.
All right, go ahead and roll.
Come on, dice, give me a failure. That's a 3.
Hey, we love some
Damn,
early
the
failures.
dice hate everyone, huh?
Look, we are learning.
The dice are perfecting our narrative because if we could effortlessly transform, where would we have to go,
Yeah.
Anyways, we hear an extra peppy version of Dez's voice as she clasps her hands over her heart. She goes, "For my friends, for my heart, and for everyone." And we see that same transformation, full on poses and frilly clothing covering her, and then I assume she slips and falls.
I don't think she slips and falls. I think you land a little bit heavy, but you land and you look down and you're pink.
Pink is punishment enough. Yeah, I groan. Part of Des was kind of hoping that this was just something that like maybe she could change it next time. She was really hoping it wouldn't be permanent.
Well, That's unfortunate.
Regardless, yes, we're both transformed.
So what are you doing? Are you going to try to fight? Are you going to try to flee? Are you going to freeze?
Well, Chris is laying prone face down on the ground right now.
Okay, then absolutely, Dez's first instinct would be to summon her shield and jump in front of Chris to try and protect her.
All right, it looks like we're fighting. So let's lay out the field for a moment. We have 3 zones: the far side of the brook, around the brook itself, and up on the rocks. And it looks like the snakes are starting to collect into 3 sort of clusters, all of them sort of seething around the rocks itself, but
Mm,
they seem to be
mm.
clustering together and sort of murmurating as a group. Which one of you wants to go first now that we are in initiative order?
I can go first for the protect action. As a heads up, I didn't know what the deal was with the downtime, so I am still at 4 out of 5 stress.
Yep.
This is great. We're gonna be fine.
Okay, so I'm gonna protect. Actually, I'm going to use my goad ability,
Mm.
which is you take the brunt of the hurt so your friends don't have to. You may protect yourself when you do so. Enemies take a penalty to their roll equal to your current light, which is 0, admittedly. But more importantly, on a partial success, you reduce incoming stress by 1, which may save me.
That makes sense.
So I'm not going to be actually protecting Chris, I guess, but I will be able
You're
to
trying to
withstand a
taunt
hit.
them and draw them away from your friend who's on the ground.
That's right. So yeah, I think Des shouts something at the seething, roiling, massive snakes, which just great to try and taunt them into attacking her instead of Chris. Not particularly effective on account of still being close to fainting, but
All right, what do you say?
something along the lines of, I may not be a snakeologist, but I know I'm gonna kick your ass. Do snakes have asses? What? I don't. I'm not a snakeologist. And can I add endure to this protect roll?
Oh, absolutely. That is perfect for protect.
Perfect. Well, great news. Doesn't matter. That is a 4 plus 1. That's a 5.
That
Oof.
is unfortunate. I'm
Whoa.
sorry.
That is a-okay. Yeah. That's all I got.
And you are standing near the brook because you jumped off of the rocks, yes?
Yeah, I jumped down to try and be in front of where Chris has fallen.
All right. So you're both by the brook.
Yes, Brook Zone.
Yes. And the first of these groups of snakes surges forward. You can see as the snakes sort of slither over each other and it gives it almost a wave-like effect as a new group slithers over on top of around the ones who are in front, and then more come over those ones as they're all rushing toward you. And as they get closer, they slither down off of the rocks and fall and get closer as they move into the brook zone. You can hear them hissing, and you realize it sounds like words.
Gloopy leapfrog. Thanks. I hate it.
Good old Gloopy Leapfrog.
Uh,
Back when I went to college with Gloopy Leapfrog. Uh, okay, come on. What? How does Gloopy Leapfrog murder me?
well, you can, as they get closer, you can hear them hissing, and it starts to sound like words. Please, so hungry. Please feed. And it's going to try to sway you. And that's a 6 and a 4 on the dice.
Cool.
Oh God.
So, Des, you said your current conviction was 0?
0. Yep.
So you move 1 point toward darkness.
Excellent. Excellent. Also, does this count as put yourself in harm's way for a friend?
Have you used a shift trigger in this scene?
Oh, I guess technically if we're including the
The episode break counts as a scene break.
Did I do the I think I did the shift trigger right before the episode
Before the
break?
episode break. Yeah, so I think you have one now.
Okay, cool. I will spend it on moving myself down to -2 on the darkness.
Ooh, exciting.
Exciting.
So now it's Chris's turn.
Yeah, Chris gets up. And
Understandable.
dusts herself off a little bit. You want to be fed? Well, there's plenty of plants here. And she shoves her hands into the dirt and pulls up 3 clods of dirt, really. But they're solidified, sort of like softballs, and hucks them at these snake. What are they like? I don't even want to try to describe them. The snake things.
Yeah. So, what is happening right now? You are making a fight action. As an artillery, you cannot do that against somebody who is in the same zone as you.
Right. Are they at the
There
brook
are
now?
there is one group that is in the same zone as you in the brook, and the other 2 are on the rocks.
Okay. She's aiming for the ones on the rocks.
All right, go ahead and make your roll.
With the firebrand action ability, like, do I have to do those, like, declare them before the roll, or can they be declared after?
They can be declared after if necessary.
Okay. Well, that's an 11 on the dice. I don't even know what fight I'm
Woo!
rolling. Am I rolling place?
Yes,
So
we
that'll be a
discussed you
13 total?
using places here. That's pretty darn good. All right, that is a complete success. Are you adding something to that?
Nope. I mean, that's a complete success. So she's just, yeah, I mean, I said 3 clods of dirt, and those, as she throws them, they, like, solidify into something approximately as dense as a softball. I would like to hear how they interact with these gloopy snake writhing ball things.
Well, the first one slams home and shatters one of these piles of snakes. And the next one fragments into shards of rock that start to cut the now dispersed pile apart. And then the third one just begins to spread out and it almost buries these things as you destroy one of these seething masses.
I will take it.
It's the new game franchise from EA. Gloopy Softball 2024.
Oh no. All right. And then the other one, the last one of these seething masses that has not yet moved is going to surge forward around Chris. You hear that those voices again, a chorus of voices begging to be fed, begging for you to give them something. But you've already hardened your heart. You know these things are bad news and you're not listening to them. As they fail to sway you, your resolve seems to. Where are you on the conviction track?
I am at 3 darkness.
Interesting. All right. And with that, we reach the end of the round, and you hear something moving in the woods behind you. You hear the sound of leaves crunching underfoot faster and faster, but your attention is brought off of that as more of these snakes seem to writhe out of the rocks, and the fight seems quite ready to continue. And then there is a flare from behind you, and you hear a voice ring out.
Looks like you two need a little help. And out of the woods steps the waitress from earlier. She's wearing not quite her full getup. She's actually got a white button-up shirt that's got the sleeves rolled up, and black slacks, which you think you might have seen her wearing earlier when she was at the restaurant. And she's got fishnet arm socks on, along with a pair of dark Doc Martens. She's got dark dyed red hair, about medium height between the other two. And she doesn't seem at all surprised at what she sees when she sees this group of you. And you've got, let's see. Well, she's looking and she sees one of you is laying half in the ground, throwing mud. The other looks horribly beat up. And she just steps forward and says, "All right, looks like it's time for me to put on my war paint." And this waitress, she closes her eyes, and we see her standing alone on a black field, hands clasped over her heart. She lets out a breath, and her hands catch on fire. The fire drops to the ground in front of her, and then spreads out in a ring around her feet. With no warning and no buildup, a jet of flame streaks out from the ground, consuming her entire body. The only remnant of her is the outline of a black skeleton. And then the flames turn from a searing orange to soft white glow, coalescing into new flesh that solidifies onto that skeleton. Ashes drift down, forming her outfit. A gray short skirt and a midriff-bearing sleeveless top, plus leg warmers, all hemmed in black and yellow hazard stripe trim. She's still wearing the Doc Martens and the fishnet armstocks from her pre-transformation outfits. And as her clothes coalesce from ash, piece by piece, she opens her eyes, a delighted grin on her face. And in a flash of sparks, an elegant rapier appears in her hand, followed by a metallic backpack hanging from her shoulders. She raises her rapier and settles into a fencing pose, ready to face the unknown.
Hell yes. So, having been confronted by this sight, do you two have any sort of response before the next round starts?
Yeah, I lean over and go, "Do you think that backpack has like magic pancakes in it?"
Oh, it has to.
Oh,
Oh, for
that's
sure.
great.
Like, look,
Maybe they're like healing pancakes because it's not looking great for me.
I don't particularly care. Uh, Normally I would be like flirty and shit right now. But yeah, help would be great.
Pancakes would also be great.
She kind of just shrugs that off. Actually, when you say pancake, she looks at you, and there's like a brief moment of recognition as she realizes, wait a minute, you're the people from breakfast earlier.
I give her a thumbs up.
And she walks forward. After that moment of recognition, she walks forward towards this writhing mass of snakes. And as she raises her rapier towards it, her rapier actually catches on fire, glowing a soft yellow as it does. And this is her shifting one towards light as part of her transformation. And I feel like we should probably explain the conviction mechanic to the audience, because we haven't really done that yet.
Indeed. So the conviction track goes 5 points towards darkness or 5 points towards light. Currently, we have one person sitting at 3 darkness and one, I believe, sitting at 2 darkness.
That's right.
And one person has just moved with her transformation in the opposite direction toward light, which gives her access to a different suite of abilities.
All right. The waitress raises her sword and she opens her mouth to speak again. She's basically ignoring you two as she looks at this writhing mass of snakes, and she just says, "Creatures from beyond. You made a mistake. You came to this world to prey on helpless humans. But I am more than human. I am fire and might. I am steel and magic. I am Phoenix Radiant! And as she says that, a pair of kanji that actually say Phoenix Radiant made of fire appear behind her.
Holy shit. Okay, yeah,
She's
here we
been
go.
practicing this.
Flee while you can, nameless thing, or I will teach you the meaning of fear and pain. And that is her attempting a sway roll as she's trying to shift this thing towards light.
Trying to terrify it into submission. All right, let's see where this goes.
And she rolled a 6.
Well, shit. Yeah, no, that's nope. As a matter of fact, as you are on the light side of the spectrum, and this thing is on the dark side, that failure means that you move toward it, and you lose that point of light that you had gained, which I believe leaves you at 0.
Yes. So the waitress's fire on her sword, because the sword is, of course, actually on fire, actually shifts from yellow to a more natural fiery orange. And as she feels that, she just looks at the other two and says, "All right, you two leave this to me. This is what I do." And that, putting herself in danger for others, is a darkness trigger. She has now shifted to 1 darkness, and the fire turns blue.
Right? That's
Hell
one way to
yeah.
manage this. That works. I believe that means that everyone has used their shift trigger for the scene, no?
Yeah.
I think so, yeah.
All right. So,
Wait,
that
hold on.
was your turn.
Are we only allowed 1 shift trigger per scene?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Correct.
Look, I have not read the rules that clearly.
Understandable.
Well, that's okay. Part of the point of this podcast is to teach some of those rules as well. So it works out.
All right. And I believe that was the first turn in the round as more of these snakes surge forward, biting and lashing at the waitress as the group of snakes who is just emerged from the rocks moves forward into the brook and bites at you. And rolls an 11, so take 2 stress.
That's on
Actually,
me,
I'm
right?
sorry. Yes, I was, although that is not correct. They only have a harm of 1, so you only take 1. My apologies.
All right. So we get this shot of one of them like biting into her, and it pulls out, and we can actually see she's visibly bleeding from the bite mark for a moment. And then a couple of sparks of blue fire just run along her skin and cauterize the bite mark.
I love it. All right, who's next?
To be clear, this is are you using an ability there?
No, that's just what it looks like when she takes injuries.
Just flavor. Okay. Wanted to
Yeah.
be sure.
She's just cool like that.
Okay, so table talk real quick. Waitress, would you like more darkness?
Yes.
All right. Then Des is gonna call out to the waitress turned magical girl and say, "Hey, look, it's really mean, so don't get hit." And I'm trying to use my guidance ability. I can sway allies.
Oh.
All right, go ahead and make that sway roll.
I don't suppose I can use I know a guy for for this particular sway roll.
I don't think you know this person.
No. And
Trying.
you didn't look at her name tag earlier.
That's all right. That is a 10 on the dice.
Yeah, that is well enough. That is a full success in your attempt to sway. So the waitress moves 1 point toward
Darkness.
yes.
And as she sets further into darkness, the blue of the fire actually turns to indigo.
I love this so
This is
much.
so good.
So is that your turn, Des? Are you moving?
Is there a zone without an enemy right now?
Correct. All of the enemies have moved off of the rocks. Everyone is currently in the brook zone, and there is nobody on the far bank.
Then yeah, I think Des is going to try to move into the bank zone, the bank of the brook.
The far
bank
bank.
of
Got it.
Does Chris get a move here? Or
It is not Chris's turn yet, no.
Okay.
It is the turn of one of these things, which is going to continue hissing in your ears, begging you for some kind of sustenance. And again, rolls terribly, rolls a 4. What is your conviction again?
yeah, so Chris's conviction is at 3 darkness.
All right. That ends its turn. So I believe it is now Chris's turn.
So we have all the snakes are in the Brooks zone. Right?
Yeah, the Brook zone. Sorry, I misspoke a moment ago.
Can we call it Brooklyn?
Brooklyn.
No, we're not calling it the Brooks Brothers.
I had to.
And then there's the bank, and then there's rocks. So Chris is going to push past these things over to the rocks because she enjoys all of nature, but the rocks feel a little bit more like projectiles to, the typical human mind. Like, that seems like the kind of thing you can throw. Although she did, in fact, just shove her hands into the dirt and create something. So she's not sure what to do with that yet. But she runs over and climbs up the rocks a little bit and finds a couple of loose stones that are, again, about softball sized or so, and turns around and she just hucks this thing as hard as she can at one of the snake masses that is still roiling.
All right, go ahead and make that fight roll, I believe, with place.
Yes, please. Can I use Flare to add my conviction here?
Remind me what Flare does?
Flare is a firebrand action. It reads, your conviction drives your hand. Once per scene, when you roll fight or protect, you may add your current conviction to the result.
Yes, you very well may.
Okay. So I would like to do that because that is a 5 on the dice plus 3 is going to be an 8 total. Plus 2 for place. that takes it to 10.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah. It slams home and disperses another one of these. And as these things lay inert on the ground, you see them sort of sift away into black fog. And I believe that leaves one last turn for me in this round. Let's see, how do I want to do this? I have one more. I have 2 remaining, but I have one more to use. That one's going to keep biting at the waitress, and you just hear it hissing, bayonets, as they start to bite. That is a partial success. So, waitress, you take 1 stress.
All right, this time I am going to actually use an ability, which is the Endure ability I get from being the Stalwart Soul, which is just to repress the pain and convert the stress I would have taken into darkness instead.
There you go.
And as she is going once again further into darkness, she's now at -3, I believe. Yeah, so she has just shifted straight into purple fire.
All right. Top of the round. Who's going?
Well, this seems to be working. And Chris takes another rock and sees it. She's going to throw it at... Man, I feel like those players who play fighters and it's just like the same thing over and over and over again.
I attack with
Yep.
sword.
I attack with some form of ball-shaped object. Yeah, so Chris is going to grab another rock from her position, and, actually in this case, I think she gets an idea. She grabs a rock as though she's going to throw it like a softball, and then instead of throwing it right away, she passes it into her left hand. She's usually right-handed, and she tosses this ball in front of her, this ball in front of her, and she, as this ball floats up into the air, it goes from softball size to volleyball size, and Chris is elevated a little bit, and she's gonna serve this thing some heat. So I'd like to roll place for another fight roll.
Absolutely.
That
Service
is
ace.
7 on the dice plus 2 is 9.
All right.
Service ace.
There's a moment as the sun hits just the right angle. We see her hand upstretched and ready to strike this quote unquote volleyball. The sun breaks through behind her head, and there's almost an eclipse like halo for a moment as the darkened hair floats, and then time speeds up again and she strikes and lands, and as she looks up she sees more of these things begin to sift away as another one of these groups is dispersed. There's only one left. I think it's going to seethe back up onto the rocks and go after Chris.
Sure.
And misses just barely with a 6. You're able to sort of dance backward, fend them off when they get too close.
All right. The waitress is going to go next.
If you want, I could go to try to give you a help action, since I don't want to die.
Oh, let's see. I think there's only the one baddie left, right?
That's right.
Yep.
So it's going to keep biting at Chris and might get her. But yeah, let's get everybody involved in this round. So you go ahead.
Yeah, I think it's okay. I think I will. I think Des tries to sway the creepy snake thing. She goes, "You're hungry. You don't have to eat people. I know where you can get pancakes." And she gestures at the waitress.
Amazing.
Uh,
All right.
and that's this way.
Uh-huh. What's the roll?
7.
I think we just get like a confused look from the waitress. She's just gonna wait. What?
All right, and what's your conviction right now?
2 -2 on the darkness.
Noted. This thing is it doesn't hear you. It's going to keep biting.
Okay.
And it's a little more successful this time with a 9. So, Chris, you take 1 more stress.
Okay.
At seeing that bite, the waitress, she kind of crouches down low for a moment, and Des, you have the angle to see this. The metallic backpack she's wearing suddenly unfolds, and it's a set of metallic wings emerging from her shoulder blades. Wings are about twice as wide as she is tall, and then suddenly parts of them vein down in these feather-like projections pointing towards the ground, and you see each of them suddenly ignites because it's an array of rocket thrusters on her back, purple fire streaking out of them as she jumps, and this jetpack that she's got as part of her transformation streaks her up to the top of the rocks, and she's going for a fight action on the creature.
All right, go ahead and roll.
And that's an 8.
Yeah, that'll do it. That is enough to, with a few rapid flaming strokes of your sword, cut these things to pieces, and as they begin to dissipate into shadow, everything falls quiet.
Except for the Final Fantasy end of battle sound, right?
Certainly, yes. Do you think the waitress strikes a pose?
Oh, she 100% does.
Amazing.
And the backpack jetpack wings just fold up again into a normal sized backpack. The sword fire extinguishes, and she doesn't have a full on sheath for it, but she like sticks it through a loop in her skirt. It's just hanging there now. And she looks around, making sure everything's gone, and says, "How the hell are you doing that?" And she's like looking at the ball of rock that Chris has just pulled out of the stone.
You said we're in the same zone now?
Yeah, I just killed the snake thing, and the waitress is now like standing next to you, I think, after she landed.
For what it's worth, initiative has ended.
Perfect.
Des is gonna trot over to where you guys are.
I think Chris looks up at the waitress and she goes, I don't know, how the fuck did you do all of that? That was fucking hot! Do you know how hot that is? No, I'm not trying to be cute, I swear.
Well, but you're succeeding. Anyway, so here's the thing. She looks at the two of you in the outfits, and very much the pink frilly outfit that Des has going on. She's just like, I was pretty sure I was the only one.
And I was pretty sure you had pancakes, but I don't think there's room for pancakes. And the whole rocket thruster thing. Please be wrong.
Can we go to ground that's a little flatter, please?
Oh, yeah. Good idea.
And Chris like hops down and just sort of like flops onto the ground.
The waitress follows her after a moment, being very careful what she puts her feet, because she's not as sporty as Chris is.
Des hops down. Doesn't quite float, but is more graceful than Des would normally be.
So, you asked how I did this. I don't know, I just did it. I mean, something between sports training and gay audacity seems to have gotten me pretty far. And she gives kind of a cheeky grin.
Yeah, that'll do it. All right. Look, I think I owe you two. You two, you're new at this, aren't you?
Getting beaten up by goop monsters?
Well, if you're
You
getting beat,
Yeah.
yeah. All right.
look, all of that was an amazing performance and all, but you're talking like this is a normal thing. What do you mean?
Well, I've been doing this for a year or so now. I didn't realize there was anyone else who could. Well, she just gestures at her outfit. By the way, what are your names?
Chris blinks rapidly and does not respond immediately.
I sort of like kneel down next to Chris and I'm like, we probably don't need a secret identity when it's with another girl, right? Like someone like us?
I'm not a girl. I'm Chris Whitlock.
Sorry, not what I didn't.
It's
Sorry.
okay. It's okay. Look, mhm. We're gonna have to talk about the gender thing at some point because you clearly experience stuff differently than I do. Um, I'm Chris Whitlock.
Eliza Hardwick.
Desdemona Hartwood.
Oh, that's really close. That's going to get confusing.
Well, I would say I didn't choose it, but I did. So,
Oh. All right. Well, you two are here on your own, right? You're not with anyone?
oh my God, Faye.
Was Faye the girl in the truck by the road?
Yep.
Yes. Is she okay?
Last I saw.
Okay. Well, that's one less thing to worry about.
All right. Well, I think we should head to my place, because I think I owe you two some explanations.
Can we? And she takes a look at Des real quick. I think Des needs some cleaning up. Can we? Is that something you can? Is this just human injury or is there something else going on? Uh, she's hurt. I'm a little hurt. We need to. Can we handle that at your place, or do we need to like go to an actual doctor?
I mean, I've got a first aid kit and such. I'm not very good with it. I'm saying that because
Oh.
unlike Unlike
Well-
me, Eliza has a -1 to render aid.
Incredible.
I'm sure I can handle it. I'm trying to learn this stuff.
Well, okay. Basic thing. One of the things you must be really new at this. I don't know about you two. I heal a lot faster than normal. So let's just go take a few hours. I can give you some info, tell you what I've picked up. Oh boy. Didn't really have to expect to explain this to anyone.
All right. Well, that seems like a good place to wrap this episode up. And thank you, everyone, so much for listening. I believe we have one more person to introduce before we say goodnight.
And that'd be me. My name is Robert or Rob, either one. Pronouns. Mine are the rare and exclusive set of he and him. And I play Eliza, who uses she, her pronouns.
Thank you so much. And to all of our audience, thank you for listening and have a good night. Thank you again for joining us on this adventure. With Conviction is a production of Silver Maiden Games. If you would like to play Conviction, check out the game at silvermaidengames.itch.io. Music for the intro and outro of this podcast is A Soul with Conviction by Doom Vega, who you can find on Bandcamp. Music within the episodes is by Rachel Rose Mitchell, who you can find on Bandcamp and Spotify. All rights to the music are retained by their original artist. Production and editing are done by myself and the With Conviction cast. Thank you all. This would not be what it is without you. You can find this podcast on Spotify and YouTube or silvermaidengames.wordpress.com. You can also find more about the game, podcast, and ways to contact us at silvermaidengames.wordpress.com.